to hear some of the comments before, you brought me on. And was it Rose who had the heat stroke?
Yeah.
But it sounds like she's taking care, so that's a good thing. So I'm going to jump right in because I want to get started with what I have to present, and I also want to make sure that there's plenty of time so that as you have questions or comments, I can respond to them. Um, so what? Oh my goodness, I just drew a blank. What Nicole was I'm a senior too.
Right.
What what Nicole was saying is that I'm going to be presenting a system that I created. Uh, Depending on who I'm talking to, it's the ABCs of one thing or another. Uh, Generally, it's the ABCs of mind, body, fitness, and well-being. So it comes from not only my background as a traditionally trained physical therapist, but I've also uh, worked in the fields of yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates. I'm sure you have heard of some of these. There are also two techniques. One is called Alexander Technique, and another one was by a gentleman called Moshe Feldenkrais. And all these non-traditional techniques focused on us as human beings becoming more conscious, more self-aware of how we feel, how we're moving. And by becoming more self-aware, we are then able to take steps that can help us maybe feel better, maybe move better. So I've been thinking, here I've got all these wonderful techniques behind me, but I need a simple ABC system that's going to make a lot of this information and these techniques available to the lay public, people who aren't necessarily doing yoga, Tai Chi, and all those other things. So the first thing is alignment. And what it refers to is your posture, how you hold yourself. And I'm sure all of us have had the experience in our younger days of, especially when we were kids in school, about standing up straight. And, we were told chin in, or as we get older, I say chins in, chest out, shoulders back, and you got this very rigid posture, which doesn't look great, doesn't necessarily feel great. So, what I'm going to suggest, um, well, let me back up. Why is good posture important? So, before I tell you how I recommend you work on improving your posture, why is it important? And now I tell the story of a former patient I had who was sitting in the waiting room of an office where I was working. And she was slouched in the office chair. And you can try this as I'm speaking if you feel like it. She was slouched in her office chair, and I said, "What's your problem?" And she tried to raise her arm up. She said, "Oh, I can't raise my arm up and it hurts." I said, "Okay, you're a little bit early for your appointment. Let's sit you back in your chair." And I sat her with her hips all the way back in her chair. I took a towel roll, or you could use any kind of a cushion, put it in the arch or the curve in the small of her back, and then I just rested her arms on the armrest of the chair she was sitting in, and I put another pillow there, so she really had her arms well supported. I came back about 15 minutes later, and I must have been having memory loss even then, because I said to her, "Tell me again what your problem is." And she says, and her arm went straight up. So that was a really strong example of how important good postural alignment is to how our body can function. Another example, if you try this at some point, is if you're slouched and you try to turn your head to one side or the other. I'm doing it right now, and it feels a little tight. And then if I straighten up, get my shoulders back, get that nice length and feeling, and I try to turn now, I have an easier time doing it. And the last thing I want to say about how good alignment can impact how you function physically is you think about a hinge on a door. When the hinge is well aligned, and obviously my fingers are on hinges, but use your imagination. When the hinge is well aligned, the door will open and close all the way. It won't squeak, it won't break down. You're going to have a functional door for a long time. But now, if there's even the slightest bit of misalignment in that hinge, all of a sudden the door doesn't open and close all the way. It's probably squeaks, and chances are it's going to break down in a short period of time. So the hinge is a very simple joint. Most of the joints in our body are not simple hinges. You take a look at the shoulder, and that's called a ball and socket joint. That's got a lot of movement in it. So our our alignment, our good alignment, is going to really impact how well certain parts of our body function. The other thing I like to say about having good postural alignment is if you take a look in the mirror and you're kind of slouched and you get a sense of how you look and how you feel. And then you're going to lengthen open, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. You lengthen open, and all of a sudden, I think you look better, and psychologically, you probably even feel better. Um, Usually, I say, if I'm looking, if you're having a day where you're not feeling great, and then you do something like straighten up, maybe put on some makeup, and guys, I'm not sure how you might respond to this. But you put on some makeup, stand up straight, maybe get dressed, and you say, wow, I can't possibly be feeling this bad if I'm looking this good. So it's that little element of vanity, that little element of mind body well being, and having good posture can help with that also. So I was saying earlier that the way they used to teach posture was having us be very rigid. Maybe have a book on top of your head, maybe, like I said, chins in, chest out, shoulders back. And it really isn't a very free, um, natural looking posture. So, what I like to do is tell you to use mental imagery. And a mental image that I like for helping us get good posture is to think of lengthen, open. So if you're sitting straight in your chair now and you simply think lengthen, and what you may be sensing, which I can sense because I'm doing it now, is how the muscles, like in your abdomen, in the stomach area, and in your back, maybe down to your buttock and your thighs, as you think lengthen and you really try to exaggerate that, what's happening is the core muscles that support your spine are going to start toning up. Oh, fine. So that's lengthened. But now, why do I say open? Because a lot of people, when they think of standing up straight, they do this. And these muscles in the neck and the shoulders have nothing to do with good postural alignment. That is using up extra energy that you don't need. It's the reason why a lot of people wind up with tension headaches and stress and other kinds of issues. So when I say open, I want you to think of these muscles relaxing and letting go. Another image I like is, for some reason, I had one silk blouse in my life, but just having a silk blouse or a silk shirt draped over a hanger, it just lets the shoulders drop down and back. So again, the two words that I like for getting better posture are lengthen, open. And this is something that you can be um, doing throughout your day. It's a way you carry yourself. So that leads me to, let me take a look. I just noticed something come
Yeah, so Rose had a
oh, yeah.
question. Yeah,
Okay.
how would you
I see.
say to align a spine that has degenerative problems without a brace when you're walking and doing things throughout the day? She does walk with a cane and has had two knee replacement surgeries. So any
Yeah, yeah, some thoughts about that.
yeah,
Let's make sure I get back to how we achieve good alignment. Uh,
yeah.
so I'm going to address this question. Um, First of all, obviously, if there is some kind of change, some kind of structural change in our spine, there's a limit to what we can do to correct that. What I like to think is that by working on posture and core conditioning, and we can talk about, remind me to show you an exercise you can do sitting that will help tone up those core muscles even more. So we may not be able to correct the changes that have occurred in the spine, but maybe we can help keep them from getting worse. Um, and also, if um, if you walk with a cane, I want to acknowledge you for that because I just a couple of weeks ago we came back from a 10-day trip to Canada, and there was a lovely, lovely woman on the trip whose spine was obviously um, deteriorated, scoliosis, and she refused to use a cane. So she was at risk for falling for most of the trip. And fortunately, for her sake and mine, she allowed me to walk with her during this tour. I told her it would be more stress for me if I had to be worrying about her falling. So if it's a matter of for those of you who would benefit from a cane, but for some reason are hesitant to use it, um, please try to identify what it is that's causing you to not want to use it and overcome it. With a cane, you can protect your spine, you can help your balance if that's a possible issue. Um, and as I told my mother when she was starting to need a cane and eventually a walker, I said, use it with panache. Hopefully, you all know what the word panache means. It's like you carry it with style, like everybody's going to wish that they, were walking with a cane or a walker because you just look so good. So if there's anything like canes are for older people or blah, 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 whatever your excuse is, please get over it. It's more important for you to be safe and it's to stay independent as much as possible. Um, and I guess as far as the degenerative problems, that's something that uh, obviously needs to be discussed with your doctor. If it's osteoporosis, there are medications. So that's outside my range of expertise. I will tell you that um, my husband and I both have some degree of osteoporosis, and we use a low intensity vibration unit. But that's not what I want to get into now. So okay, so I'm going to keep going with
Mhm.
the alignment. Hopefully, that was a little bit helpful to Rose and to everybody. So, talking about using mental imagery for getting that better postural alignment. We talked a little bit about what some of the benefits are of good postural alignment. The other thing is that when you are holding your body as straight, as erect as possible, you've also made more room for the heart, the lungs, the digestive system to function more optimally. So that's another benefit of working on good postural alignment. Another comment about imagery. For some reason saying lengthen open doesn't work for you, but how about thinking of yourself as a king or a queen or a princess some person that is very tall and proud and elegant. And these are mind games. So, I mentioned that this is that my work aims at helping us with mind body well-being. A lot of the things that limit us on some level have to do with our thinking about them. So this is a little mind game. I am tall, strong, and beautiful, or tall, strong, and handsome, or whatever. It's a mind game. Nobody has to know you are playing it, but it can make a tremendous difference in how you function, how you feel about yourself. So I want to uh, I'm going to go on to breathing because remember, these are ABCs: align, breathe, center. Now, everybody breathes. It's something that we do automatically. We don't have to think about it. However, if you start becoming conscious of how you're breathing, you now have an opportunity to modify your breathing in a way that it produces less stress. It may even help you cope with pain that you may have. Um, and for those of you who may have a breathing issue like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, I see a hand go up, right? Hi, Frida. uh, what I'm going to show you now comes from my training, not only with yoga and all that other stuff, but more from my work in what they call the chest therapy team, in one of the at the Rusk Center in New York. For those of you who know it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with alignment. So you're going to again be sitting straight in your chair. And if there's time, remind me to go back to good chairs for sitting, but I want to go to breathing now. Um, so you sit back in your chair with a support behind your back if possible, your arms supported on the armrests of the chair if there is one, or you can be sitting at a table or a desk that will also support your arms and keep them from dragging you down. So having the arms supported is going to be a benefit. Now, I'd like you to do this with me. Without breathing in, I'd like you to just blow out a little bit. And I'm going to stop there. A lot of people say, how can you breathe out if you haven't breathed in first? Right? However, most of us do not do full exhalations uh, during the day, and that's natural. There's no need to be doing these full exhalations with every breath. But by doing a conscious, slow, prolonged exhalation through pursed lips or making a hissing sound, what you are doing is getting rid of a lot of the stale air that is sitting in the corners of your lungs. In physical therapy or medical terms, it's called residual air. And it sits there because most people do not do these full exhalations. So, for the breathing portion of the ABCs, what I'd like you to start doing and integrating into your everyday activity is these slow, prolonged exhalations. And the reason for pursed lips, it's mostly for people who may have something like emphysema or COPD. What the pursed lip breathing does, or the hissing sound, is it creates a negative pressure which helps to hold the air passageways open so that you can clear the lungs of this stale air. Now, when you have done this slow, prolonged exhalation, as long as you can, of course, you're going to wind up automatically breathing in afterwards. But let me get back to my thought. What you have done by this slow, prolonged exhalation is you've like I said, cleared the air, the lungs of the stale air. Now, when you breathe in, there's more lung tissue available for the oxygenated air that you are breathing in. So, for the average person, that simply could mean more energy. For the person with some type of respiratory issue, this could mean an increase in what we call respiratory capacity, which again leads to more energy. If you have if you have COPD or something and you need me to make more comments about that, I see you're shaking your head, Frida. We can come back to that. I just want to make sure that I cover other things as well. I want to return to the alignment portion of breathing for a moment and just talk about chairs, because I would venture that a lot of you tend to sit in chairs or sofas or recliners that are not really supportive for your spine. So you may not want to be in a straight back chair all day. Um, but there are things you can do if you are going to be sitting in your sofa or your recliner that will give more support to your back so that it can be straighter. And the other thing is, I don't tend to be, I am short. I'm 5'2". A lot of chairs are too big for me. So even in my dining room, my dining room chairs are too big for me. I need a little box to kind of prop my legs up. You don't want a chair where your feet are not supportive. You want to be able to have space, between your thigh and the seat of the chair, so you avoid having unnecessary pressure and restriction of your circulation. So be aware of sitting in a way that your posture is supported. Uh, and I think that's all I'm going to say about that right now. Going back to breathing, I just want to mention that there has been a lot of research about the role of conscious breathing in our ability to reduce stress. And I want to emphasize that point. So, this prolonged exhalation that I'm recommending, besides helping you with increased lung capacity, increased energy, it also can biochemically help to reduce stress. So, I think the last thing I'm going to say about it is, if you are under a stressful situation, just try to stop for a moment and just blow out. Turn to your attention to your breathing. Okay. Um, yeah, somebody's asking if I can show prolonged exhalation again. So I am going to breathe in, and that actually gives me an opportunity to mention that breathing in ideally is going to be done through your nose. Okay. For those of you who are mouth breathers, uh, there is a lot of research about the many values of inhaling through the nose, and there are people who sleep with open mouths during the night. There people are actually recommending taping the lips so they're closed, which forces you to be breathing through the nose. Um, and before I get to the prolonged exhalation, uh, the other thing I want to mention briefly about breathing in, besides doing it through the nose, is that the breath goes down and that it's a diaphragmatic breath. I'm guessing you've heard the expression before. A nice image for helping you accomplish this diaphragmatic breathing is something Sarah Meeks, who's an expert in a physical therapist who's an expert in the field of osteoporosis, uh, she has used the term balloon breathing. So we always go back to alignment. For breathing, you can breathe in through the nose. Let the air go down around your midsection. I know you can't see my midsection right now. Imagine yourself filling a balloon, and here we go with the slow, prolonged exhalation. So I'm going to stop myself because at my max, I'm able to go about 45 seconds. When you first do this, you may find yourself only able to go for a couple of seconds. The nice thing about doing this periodically through the day, this slow, prolonged exhalation, and timing yourself either with a clock with a second hand or just counting to yourself, you will find that your ability and the length of time that you can blow out is going to progressively increase. So that means you are training your respiratory system to get rid of more of that stale air, blah, blah, blah. All right, I want to go to centering, and then by then you will have the ABCs, and we can take a look at more of your questions. So centering, the way I use it for my system is the idea of your mind and your body working together. And I will say, how often has any one of us had an accident, a fall, or an injury because our mind is one place, but our body is doing something else? So by simply focusing on one thing at a time, doing that, finishing it, next thing. All right, don't think you can multitask. Uh, I think the research is showing that really leads to inefficiency, mistakes, and things like that. Um, in the handout, I believe my handout refers, yes, it does. Um, Under the centering portion, and you don't need to look at it now, I mentioned a technique called start, change, stop. And all that, and I, since I was, learned that technique, I do it all the time. No matter how big or small a task may be that I'm doing, whether it's washing a dish at the sink, having this conversation with you, having another conversation, it doesn't matter what the task is. When you begin it, you declare that you have started the task. And then the change is whatever you do, whatever the task is, whether it's a talk, whether it's writing a note, whatever it is. And you do as much of that task as you need to, and then you declare it stopped, complete. That doesn't mean like I'm in the middle of writing for a book. That doesn't mean I've completed everything I needed to write. It means that the portion that I was going to work on today or this hour is done. On to the next thing. So it's a wonderful technique for helping you stay centered. And as I said, by being focused on what you're doing as you're doing it and avoiding distractions, avoiding multitasking, by doing that, you are now functioning more efficiently, more safely, and hopefully preventing accidents, injuries, mistakes, and things like that. So um, I think I want to open up to some of the questions that I see have appeared
Okay.
in the chat. Um,
Okay,
and
so
yeah,
if we go back to people definitely chatted in about your the
the
cane,
vibe. You
about
know
like,
what, Nicole? Let me scroll through. I'm gonna
okay, go
spare
ahead.
you. I'm gonna spare you. Um, so Rose mentions that she has a bed that vibrates for helping relax. Okay, that's great. I want to mention that the vibration mentioned, the vibration unit is something that you stand on, and it's really designed to help with um, bone conditioning. They're still waiting to get it approved by the FDA, but Um, I wanted to mention that. Um, and Tai Chi. And yes, Tai Chi is wonderful for balance. Again, there is more and more research about it. What I notice when I watch Tai Chi classes or any other class, yoga, any class you may take, is that very often the instructor may incidentally remind you to breathe. So, what I'm going to encourage you to do, no matter what activity you undertake, whether it's Eleanor and golfing or whatever other activities you do, is begin them with aligning, breathing, centering, begin the activity. Because posture, um, if you think of blocks, like a kid's building blocks, when you have the blocks on top of each other, chances are they're not going to tip over. But if one of those blocks is tipped or misaligned, the chance of the bunch of blocks going over is much greater. So, in order to get the best balance results from your Tai Chi class, even if the instructor doesn't tell you, I want you to think of, okay, I'm going to align, breathe, center, and then do whatever the movement is that the instructor is doing. So I wanted to say that about Tai Chi. Um, Let me go down. I think I did the prolonged exhalation again. People ask how often do you do prolonged exhalation? So I don't like giving set numbers. Throughout the day, when you think about it, if you think about it, you know, do a few exhalations. Maybe when you sit down, to watch TV or something, do them there. They are not going to become the way you breathe all the time, but you will find that because they uh, because they are stress reducers, they are something that ah, I feel like doing that. Uh, so, and as far as how long to do it, it's going to be different for everyone, and that's why I recommend time yourself and go as long as you can. I know there are approaches to breathing exercises where they tell you breathe in for a certain number, blow out for a certain number. I don't like to have you limiting or restricting yourself. I'd like you to sense your body and do what's comfortable for your body. So don't get hung up with how much do I breathe in? Don't get caught up in the numbers. These are techniques. I want you to try them on. If they feel comfortable, you know, wear them. I hope that makes sense. Um, the CPAP machine, quite honestly, I don't know how to answer the question about CPAP machines. Um, because people who need them usually have other medical conditions that are causing them to have things like sleep apnea. So very often those conditions relate to body weight. I think it's more typical for people who are what we consider significantly overweight to have these sleep apnea problems. So getting those conditions under control, and when you're not on the PAP machine, do the breathing exercise. I wish I can't. I don't think I can say more about it. Um, okay, and okay, you'll get if you haven't gotten the handout yet, you will. And I've had it done. I printed it in really large print, so
Yeah,
hopefully
we'll
that's
send that
helpful.
after the call. We'll send that.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. Um, what are those three? Okay, the words, the strategy for centering, three words: start, change, which just means do whatever you're going to do, and then stop. Start, change, stop. And I mean, you can go through a start, change, stop in an instant, you know. And I, you know, now that I've taken it on, I have to laugh because I can be moving something from one place to another. So start, change, stop. You know, one, two, three. Oh, Barbara, sorry you have to leave. Thank you for being here. I just noticed Barbara saying that. Um, how to breathe when you're walking. Mm. So again, first of all, align, lengthen, open as you're walking. Um, I, I'm also want to take time to mention slow motion. But if you simply think about the blowing out phase of your breathing as you're walking, so don't worry about breathing in. I mean, that comes automatically. What doesn't come automatically is the consciousness about just breathing out. And, you know, do you have to do it through pursed lips? I do that very often. You know, so first of all, you can see when I'm exhaling, um, and it's more relevant for people who do have respiratory issues. But again, just consciousness. So this is conscious breathing that we're talking about, not the automatic breathing that you do, you know, as you just go about your everyday activities. It's like, oh, let me tune into my breathing. So I hope that helps when it comes to walking. Okay, I'm just reading through. Ah, okay, wonderful. I want to, so two things, two exercises I want to talk about now. One for the uh, increased core conditioning, and the other for strengthening our lower extremities. So for the core conditioning, I'd like you to just come to the edge of your chair. Come to the very front of your chair. Hopefully your feet can now be flat on the floor, the full foot on the floor. If you're wearing your spike high heels, you know, take them off. And now you do your alignment. So you align, breathe, which just means becoming conscious of your breathing. And I want you to think of pressing your feet down into the floor at the same time that you're thinking of lengthening. So you're exaggerating the lengthen open that we talked about before. You're pressing down as if your feet are trying to go through wet cement, and you're reaching up as if you want the back of your head to hit the ceiling, right? And if you have a mirror, or in this case, I can be looking at my image on the screen, keeping your eyes on your eyes also keeps you from doing things like this or looking down. It keeps your head in a well-aligned position. So you want to keep that breathing, you want to keep pressing as much as you can. And what I'm expecting that you'll be feeling is the muscles in your abdomen, buttock, right up your back. If you keep pushing, you're going to feel it right up the back of your neck. And you just slowly relax. So that's Sarah Meeks, who I mentioned before, calls that the foot press exercise. What we've done is we've added the alignment and breathing and centering component to it. This is something that you can do sitting. You can also do it while you're standing. Same thing. You just think of pressing your feet down into the floor, straight down, at the same time that you're trying to lift the back of your head up towards the ceiling, and yet you're keeping the neck and shoulders relaxed. So, you know, which also leads me to want to remind you, please don't do sit-ups. For any of you that still thinks that doing sit-ups is good for you, it's poison. All right. And the stomach muscles, you know, we don't use the stomach muscles in a crunch. Mostly we need the stomach muscles to work with the back muscles to keep our spine supported. So especially if you've got osteoporosis and you've got a curving of the spine already, if you've even thought about doing sit-ups, please don't. So that was the exercise for core conditioning. Now, the one for strengthening the legs. Uh, I'm going to have trouble. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to demonstrate this, but for strengthening the legs, I want you to be forward in your chair again. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to give you a bit of a profile. And then I want you to hinge forward. So you're actually bending forward from the hips, but keeping that spine aligned. Keep bending forward from the hips, and in slow motion, come to standing. Now, some of you may need to push on the armrests of a chair. You may need support to do that, but I'd like you to come to standing. And I know I can't see you all. So, all right. So from this standing position, this is where you start the strengthening exercise. What you do is, first of all, make sure that before you sit back down on the chair, that at least one of your legs is touching the chair. You then hinge your hips back, so you thrust your hips back and you start to sit in the chair. But what you want to do is stop yourself from sitting all the way down, especially, you feel your thigh muscles, your leg muscles feeling like they're not going to support you. Come back up to standing. So hopefully that makes sense. And so it's starting from the standing position, slowly maintaining your spinal alignment, pushing your hips back towards the seat of the chair, slowly lowering yourself down as far as you can go without plopping down onto the chair. If you find a place where you're right on the border of plopping, but you can still control it, see if you can stay there for a moment. All right, you're going to feel that burn, as Jane Fonda used to say in all her exercise tapes. Feel the burn. If you feel the burn, you know those muscles are working. And then come up again. And this exercise, what you want to be able to do is eventually be able to control your ability to return to a sitting position without needing to hold on. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that. All right. So, you may need to support on your hands on your thighs. You may need to reach back and hold the armrest of your chair. You want to be safe, but this is the functional way. I don't know if you've heard the terms functional fitness. This is the functional way to increase your lower extremity strength. And this is something you have to get up. I'm guessing you get up and down from a chair, or you should excuse me, the toilet seat, multiple times a day. So it's a perfect opportunity to take this everyday activity and turn it into an exercise. So that's why I often say that what I encourage people to do is take any exercise, take any activity that you do during the day, reaching up for something, having to squat down, pick something up. By doing it consciously, by remembering to do your ABCs first, you have now turned your everyday activities into exercises. So you're increasing your fitness just by consciously doing the things you do anyway. So I guess I'm going to segue into saying that the way you would make any of these activities more beneficial for conditioning is that you repeat them. So instead of just reaching for something once and that's it, Do it multiple times. Do it consciously, making sure that you're thinking about, am I maintaining my postural alignment? Am I maintaining, you know, a steady breathing pattern? I'm going to cough, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Okay, let's see. How to breathe when I'm walking. Okay, I think I did that. Uh, so hopefully that helps with Frida's question about, that's just some of the things you can do for strengthening the legs in the context of an everyday activity. Oh, thank you. I guess Beverly liked my advice. Okay. Sciatic pain. Okay. Ooh. So, for anybody with sciatic pain or sciatica, first of all, you want to get it checked out by a neurologist or an orthopedist. Um, Even in some states, even a physical therapist can do an initial assessment, and they will be able to tell you, hey, you know, this is something that can be corrected just by some um, physical therapy, some training regarding your posture and exercises, or they'll say, you know, you need to get to a physician, a qualified physician, to find out what's causing it. In general, dealing with pain can cause people to tighten up and to scrunch up. This is where you want to use that breathing, all right, so you don't add additional stress and tension, uh, and um, you let that help you manage the pain. So you don't wind up with additional issues besides the sciatica because you've been, you know, all scrunched up or holding yourself in a contorted way. So hopefully that'll help, but, you know, get it checked out medically, and, you know, make sure that everything that needs to be done for you medically is being done, and then get to a good physical therapist. Yes, start, change, stop. Okay. Frida. Huh. Great. So Frida is talking about pacing herself. So this brings me to another component of the ABC system. Wasn't sure if I'd have, you know, how timing was going to work for it. But another component after alignment, breathing, and centering is what I call slow motion. And I actually had a lady in another presentation I did who had heard me talk about slowing down, and she talked about how she had found herself almost falling because she was rushing to do something, and she remembered to slow down. I've gotten to the point in my life, all right, and I'm going to be, God willing, I'm going to be 78 in September, where nothing, yeah, right, nothing is worth rushing, rushing to where my physical or even my mental well-being is negatively impacted. That's got to be my first priority. For any of us who has a reason to live, and I like to think it's all of us, there is nothing that is worth us jeopardizing our physical or mental well-being. If you're late for an appointment, call and say, I'm sorry, I'm late. You know, do not please go rushing for a bus or something like that. Now, I will tell you, I've had more than one patient where, um, let's say I've tried to slow down their walking because they were in this habit of, you know, just I'm all used to doing things fast. And I came up with this really stupid idea, but it worked. And here we go. So I said to this person, I want you to say after me, and you have permission to laugh after I do this. I want you to say after me exactly the way I'm saying it. Here we go. Slow motion. And for a lot of people, trying to say that the first time when you're used to being fast paced, it doesn't come easy. But when this patient of mine finally humored me and said slow motion, and I drew it out even more. Do you know that they started walking more slowly? I mean, it was like a miracle. So I offer you that um, as a way to help you. Besides the breathing, slowing that down, is to also think of slow motion as a way to reduce stress and to keep yourself safe, right? So much of what we talk about now, as we are all getting older, is staying safe, so we can be, independent and, live our lives as fully as possible. Um, Trying to think what else. Oh, the other advantage of slow motion. I kind of did it when I was having you practice the standing return to sitting. The slower you do that, um, the more effective it is as a muscle strengthening activity. So, any stretching that you might do, any exercise that you do, uh, whatever your body, sometimes your body feels like it wants to move in a certain way. The more you do it with slow motion and focus, the more you develop balance, coordination, and conditioning of the muscles. So that's slow motion. And okay. Oh, so who is that? Rose? I already talked about crunches. They are poison. All right. None of us should be doing crunches. Uh, Doing the foot press exercise in sitting or in standing, where you are exaggerating your attempt to be as tall as you can be, lengthening, opening, really exaggerating it, that's going to work the stomach muscles in a way that's functional and not dangerous. Doing a crunch is dangerous. Whether you have, I'm going to say, probably most of us have some degree of osteoporosis. It's just not a functional exercise and it's potentially dangerous. So, okay. Does anybody want to speak? I think, um,
Yeah,
we'll
does
go.
anybody have any questions? You want to raise your
Oh,
hand or ask Vicki anything?
yeah, I'm
Um,
actually seeing, are small
oh,
crunches
Barbara
the same?
Waldron. Yeah, we got to take her. Barbara Waldron, there we go. Go ahead if you want to unmute.
Oh, and the phone is gonna ring now. Wait a second, let me just stop it. Yeah, no, I know you said crunches are dangerous, but what make it dangerous? Because I do crunches all the time, and now I'm saying, oh, I've been doing the wrong thing.
So, if this was my spine, okay, and you go to do a crunch. So this would be the head, and then you're curling up, right?
Yeah,
Right? So look what happens to your back as you're curling up. This would be, where you see people with hunched backs. That's where the hunch is. So
Hi, how are you? Could you
the
check whom I have?
the crunch is the stomach muscles, which would be in front here, pulling on you. Those muscles pull you down, they compress the spine, and they create that curve. So if you've got osteoporosis, it's the front, of the vertebrae, which are here, that are getting compressed. So can you see that? Is that making sense?
yes, it is.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, if you are, let's say, lying down and you are just lifting, let's say, your head and shoulders, and you're not trying to bend your whole spine, that's a safer way of doing it. But then that's not a full crunch, so I'm not going to complain. I still say that learning to do the foot press exercise throughout your day. You're standing at the sink, You're sitting at a chair. I mean, I'm sitting at a desk chair right now. I can be. You don't even know whether I'm doing. Well, yeah, you do because I raise up as the buttock muscles tighten. But I mean, throughout the day, I can be doing this foot press and working the abdominal muscles, and I'm repeating myself. That's the more functional way that they need to work. They need to be supporting your spine. Did that answer, Barbara?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All
Was
right.
there anyone else that had a Barbara E., do you have a question?
Yeah, I actually do.
Okay,
Am I unmute? Can you hear me?
yeah,
And
go
I,
ahead.
and I
Yeah.
see you too. Hi, Barbara.
Okay, hi. And you do look wonderful. I'm a
Thank
little
you.
younger. I just turned 75 a week ago.
Oh, God
Um,
bless.
Thank you. I also had spinal surgery a month ago for a bone spur that was impinging on the nerve root at L5. And the wonderful surgeon who removed it. And also he widened the space between L4 and L5 because it was narrowing.
Wow.
And a lot of the pain and problems I had are gone now that that
Thank God.
miserable bone spur is gone. But I also have spinal stenosis, and all of my lumbar vertebrae had deteriorated, but he says I am not a candidate for surgery. Not that I was signing up for it anyways. Is there anything you can recommend to lessen the effects of the stenosis or to keep it from getting any worse?
So, unfortunately, stenosis is something that the body does, and there's a
Mhm.
limit to what we can do to change what the body is doing internally. However, um, well, let me back up. The other issue with spinal stenosis that I've had to accept is that sometimes the only way that people with spinal stenosis uh, get relief is by being bent a little bit. So I go back to try to maintain the best postural alignment you can. Use your breathing for managing your energy, managing your stress. Um, but aside from that, there, as a therapist, there's nothing we can do to change the actual condition
Well,
that's going on.
I am in physical therapy. I have a wonderful physical therapist who I've known over 20 years, and he's rehabbed an awful lot of parts of me. Is there any specific um, modalities that you could suggest that maybe he's not doing with me now?
Well, let me throw the question back at you. What modalities are they using on you? Are they
Well,
using
he
heat?
does a lot. He does wonderful therapeutic massage. I mean, you scream from it, but when he's finished with you, you feel very well. He has me rolling a large ball under my knees and so twisting my hips, working on my knees with a smaller ball. And right now he has me riding the bike. I'm just starting. It's about 6 weeks out from surgery, and I just started the therapy according to the instructions of my surgeon. I
So,
know
Barbara,
that's
it sounds
I
like, I
said,
mean, yeah, it sounds like, he's doing what needs to be done. What I would, I guess, because I have a tremendous self-interest, integrate and maybe tell him about integrate how you're integrating alignment, breathing, centering as you do the exercises. It sounds, and the fact that he's massaging you, I think that's awesome because not all therapists do that, and it's one of the things
well,
I used to love to do. So I'm glad. I
that's
think,
why. I
yeah,
mean, he's out of the way, but
it's
my daughter, when she was 23, had stage 4 cancer, and it was in the bones, and she couldn't walk, and he got her back up on
yeah.
her feet. And I swear by him. And it
Yeah.
is, as you say, it's that massage, because I've dealt with other therapists before I knew him that showed you a couple of exercises and then they
Right.
disappear for an hour.
Yeah. No, so
Yeah.
that's, if you're getting results and you're feeling better, I'd say you're in good hands. So I really don't have anything to offer except just integrate alignment, breathing, and centering, and keep letting him work with
I
you.
will do that. I
Okay,
definitely
thank
will.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Barbara.
okay, Barbara. All right, let's see. Pretty good. Short chair. Oh, uh, here's Rose with a problem with short chairs because I have long legs. I'm jealous of the that you're tall. Um, I mean, so having a chair or finding a chair that's well fitted for you. And by the way, Nicole, are we okay for time? I just realized what time
Yeah,
it
you're
is.
fine. You're
We're good.
fine.
Okay. Um, so, I mean, you either need to do a new chair, you need to get a cushion on it. As long as you're aware of being comfortable and supported in your chair, then you're going to have, I hate to say it, but you're going to have to figure out what to do.
These
All
are
right.
even chairs at the doctor's office. I swear they're made for midgets.
Oh, I'm one of those midgets, and unfortunately, my doctor doesn't have those chairs. I usually feel like little orphan Annie, when you're sitting on a chair and your legs have to stick out. But unfortunately, I don't have a solution for that. Um, I've got Cindy with a question about leg cramp exercise to reduce it. Well, I'm not an expert of leg cramps, but I have heard that they can relate to dehydration or a vitamin deficiency or something. Uh, so the only thing I know to do with a leg cramp is get up and stretch it.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm being very helpful there.
Yeah, we have a foot doctor that comes on and she always says, everyone always, it's his number one question is that leg cramp in the middle.
Really?
The Charlie horse. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she says the same thing. You stretch it, you pull back your toes and sometimes we'll get it back.
Yeah, I'm
Eat
sorry.
bananas, potassium. Yeah. But did you,
Okay.
I saw that Alice had a question about showing the foot press again.
Okay.
We're talking about, yeah.
Okay, I just want to answer Kay's question real because it's a short one. Is cracking your neck harmful? I'm laughing. I'm looking at what the next one is. Okay. Is cracking your neck harmful? I've been told it's not. That cracking joints is not harmful. So that's what I've heard, and I don't know how helpful that is, but I guess it leads me to say that it leads me to say listen to your body. If your body feels like it needs something, it needs to move a certain way, it needs to crack, listen to your body. If something you do doesn't feel good, you won't do it again. If it does feel good, you will do it again. So uh, that's my comment about that. And thank you everybody for the nice comments. Oh wow. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nicole. I was getting
So
distracted.
Alice was asking about the foot press.
Okay, so whether you are sitting or standing, so you got to pretend these are my feet. I got to get myself aligned with the camera. Pretending these are your feet, you want them to be able to be flat on the floor. So you're not in high heels. Um, Being in a flat shoe would be great. And as with everything I do, you start with your align, breathe, center, and then you press. I'm going crazy with the camera here. You press your feet. You imagine yourself trying to press right through the floor. And at the same time that you're pressing your feet down, you are keeping your posture erect, and you are imagining the back of your head. So I can give you this. The back of your head rising up towards the ceiling. So that lengthens. You notice how that lengthens your spine, lengthens your neck. So you're just pushing and lifting. You're trying to keep the neck and shoulders relaxed. And of course you keep breathing. One of the tendencies that happens when we are doing a, um, you would consider this an isometric exercise, people tend to hold their breath. So please um, make sure that you've got that breathing going before you do any exercise that may cause, is a source of exertion. And I might as well say that that includes when you're in the bathroom. So since my intention is to give you all kinds of practical tools and to help you stay safe, remembering to breathe whenever you are exerting, and that includes in the bathroom, get your breathing going first. All right, before you do the foot press exercise, get your alignment, your breathing going first. That's what's different about what I do compared to what you may experience in other, let's say, exercise classes. I have you begin with your posture and your breathing. It's not an afterthought. So I don't know how much more time we'll have today, but please take on learning your ABCs, align, breathe, center, and integrate it throughout your day. And I think you'll have my contact information.
Yeah, we have all that.
Rose.
I just, there was,
Okay.
I see Barbara's, we'll take one last question there,
Yeah,
but Rose also
sure.
asked, do you recommend using a wall occasionally to lean up against to straighten up?
You can, and that's fine. And you want to make sure that you are doing these things. Like if you're using the wall to get better posture, you want to be using that better posture throughout your day as you go through your activities. So it doesn't help to stand against a wall, maybe get better posture, and then you go through the rest of your day, blah, 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 slouched.
You
Yeah.
use it several
Did that
times a
answer,
day.
did that answer the question?
Can
Yeah.
I just enter a tip, if I might?
Who is
For
this?
all the people,
That's Barbara E.
Barbara,
Yeah.
for all the people that are having problems with finding a chair that's right for them. Before I had surgery, I couldn't sit in any of my furniture. 5 minutes and I was in agony. And my daughter told me about the chair that she had gotten because she has a bar in her spine and everything else. I can't remember if it's stress-free or stressless, but you can go to their website. They are quite expensive, but they have a wonderful line. The chairs come in small, medium, and large. They have rings that they'll add to the bottom to raise up the seat part if you have long legs. And some of them recline completely. The one I have, it goes back in stages, so you can diagonal a bit, but not all the way. And it comes with an ottoman, and it was worth every cent.
I'm going to have to check it out also.
Yeah, well, look, so you said it was, we could put it in the recap, well, if we find it, it was
It's either stressless or stress-free.
chair,
For
okay.
New Jerseyites, Raymore and Flanagan carries not all the styles, but many of them.
Okay.
I know you can order them from the company, but I wouldn't recommend it because you really need to sit in it and see which size is right for you, which style is most comfortable for you. And like I said, now even after surgery, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
I
no,
did-
we'll try and look for a link to.
I
see
really
it.
never
Yeah.
thought of shit. There we go. Ashley had put it in, stressless.
Stressless, okay, there you
They'll
go.
even send you samples of the leather so you can see the color and everything. But like I said, they are pricey. Mine was $3,200 with delivery and setup and everything else. But when you think about what it would cost you to have surgery, your co-payments and everything.